Wonderful. We are all live. We're recording. We're live. I'm Ryan Lanier with Organizing for Good, and this is hands down my favorite time of the week where I get to reach out to area nonprofits, incredible organizations that are championing the things that really need to be championed in this life. And I get to hear about so much beautiful work. And today is no exception. I'm so excited to be talking to Jessica Coronado. She is the chair of the Austin chapter of the Hispanic Women's Network of Texas. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And good morning, Ryan. Thanks so much for having me, for sharing the time today. We're really excited and really excited to talk about what we're doing here at the Austin chapter, but also at the statewide level. Because we've really changed our programming during this past 17, 18 months with pandemic because of the COVID and all the restrictions of and safety guidelines of meeting in person. So as a statewide organization, we've really come together, put our heads together to continue developing relevant programming for our members. So I think that's been the silver lining, just to continue getting our mission out there.
I completely agree. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I changed a couple things while you're talking. Absolutely. And we are so excited to hear all about. So just give us a little synopsis of the Hispanic Women's Network of Texas and what you do and who you serve.
Yes. So the Hispanic Women's Network of Texas, HWNT as we call it, it has been around for 30 years. And we are present in all of the major metropolitan areas of Texas. So San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, Corpus, and one big chapter for the Rio Grande Valley. And we mainly come together to, as volunteer board, to put together events, networking opportunities so that women can expand in their areas of civic, life, professional engagement, development, and just overall kind of sisterhood, as we like to call it. And so in Austin, I've been a member of this chapter for 8 years now. I moved from San Antonio to Austin about 10 years ago, where I worked for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in San Antonio. So kind of my background had been in advocacy for Hispanic and women, minority-owned businesses, that type of stuff. I moved to Austin and I immediately wanted to jump back into that world, but being new, I wasn't sure, how I could quickly tap into that. So I was going to school at St. Edward's. I was working on my degree, and I had a classmate who said, just like coincidentally, she was a board member of HWNT in Austin. She says, "I'd really think you'd enjoy it. You should come to one of our board meetings, check it out." And that was my very first board meeting, and I've been attending ever since. So I definitely fell in love with the mission, and it was a very quick and efficient way to get to know the Hispanic women of Austin. And then also eventually I got to network with the Hispanic women throughout all the cities that I mentioned earlier. And so those were a lot of small business owners, business leaders, a lot of powerful women in their positions, corporate, government, a little bit of everything, a lot of retirees who had first developed the Austin chapter, who are still around and very involved. And so they lend a lot of their knowledge and wisdom to us still today. And so I started off as the chair of fund development, doing fundraising. So that was also another quick way of getting to know the local community. I was doing a lot of research, finding out which companies had those kind of Hispanic driven initiatives that are looking to insert themselves into the Hispanic community and then welcoming them in. And whenever a big new company would launch in Austin, such as the Siete Foods company, now they're in a lot of grocery stores and they're Hispanic, owned by the Garcia family. We reached out to them and start doing business with them and including them in our sponsorship opportunities. So really just trying to get that exposure out wherever we can. And so when the pandemic hit, it was coincidentally my first year as chair. So I had kind of been working my way up for these 8 years.
Ooh,
And
trial by
finally,
fire.
yes, finally
Wow.
made it to the chair position. And I was like, I'm going to be so organized. We had our board retreat. I said, here's our event schedule for the year. I had all these big plans. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh
And you
gosh.
know how that works when,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dare I say
so
that word that we don't like to say anymore? Pivot.
big pivot, big pivot.
Big pivot.
So,
Bless your heart.
so my day job, I work for the city of Austin. A lot of pivoting was going on there with the government work and crisis response. So I was seeing this happening quickly during my day job. And there's a lot of concern locally with the Austin community that the Hispanic community doesn't always feel that there's enough resources out there, whether it's in Spanish or just simply ways to educate and market to the Hispanic community. So, you know, I talked to my board and I said, we can either take a back seat in this and just watch the pandemic play out, however that may be, or we can just step up and insert ourselves and become a resource to the community. So we chose the latter. So our first big move was just putting together like an Excel spreadsheet, just a Google sheet that we could share with all the resources, like where the PPE distributions located, where are the testing sites, where can people pick up food and water and just all the basic necessities, mental health services. Just started throwing together a list of resources and then shared that out with our members. And then again, had to with our events, like knowing all of our events were going to be in person. We had scheduled one event per month. And we had like workshops and fundraisers and scholarship opportunities. We did all of that online. So we ended up hosting 15 events virtually last year. Wow. And over the summer months, we definitely doubled up on some. So we brought in speakers to speak on topics that were relevant to us during the pandemic, such as mental health, financial wellness. You know, if you've lost your job, what can you do to try and get back on your feet financially, those types of things. And we had really good turnout. Then we had some fun ones. We dropped in like virtual Zumba to get people up and moving, and that's really fun. We played virtual bingo. So fun. Yes, a lot of creativity, but you know, really proud of the board at the end of the day for not only dealing with their own personal lives. You know, this pandemic has affected us all differently, but then also as volunteers coming together and making sure that our members still had a worthwhile year.
Wow. I mean, let's just say women in general, we are so brilliant, right? And give us a good crisis. I mean, you know, that's when we really soar. I think it's mostly because of how we communicate. And I wrote down, that was like the first thing you said that y'all did. It was like, we need a spreadsheet. We need to communicate on the tools and how are we going to make this work? And that is huge. So, I mean, 15 virtual events, that is incredible. Yes. That's insane. Wow. I mean, that's really, really incredible. So, and I love that you threw fun and health into the whole mix. So that's just absolutely incredible. Wow. Yeah, that's really great. Thank you for all of that. I want another thing you mentioned, and I'm sure this is, you know, a big part of what you do is partnering. And you mentioned Siete Foods, and like, can you tell us a little bit more about other ways that you partner?
Yes. So with our state board, we also got a new state chair just before the pandemic hit. And she was a local leader. She's a former executive director of a local organization in Austin called Con Mi Madre. And it's a mother-daughter institution to teach both mothers and daughters of how to approach higher education. So if you're nearing, you know, your sophomore, senior year, how do you apply for FAFSA? What tools do you need just to be successful in college? Because a lot of these local students are first generation students. So they're going through that experience with their families. So our state chair was the executive director of that organization. So she has a lot of strong ties with Boston. So it really helped. She was able to quickly connect us with some of her own network. And so we had we have an annual scholarship fundraising event. For example, every year in September, it's a loteria. We play bingo. We usually book a banquet space. We have Mexican food, margaritas, a raffle, silent auction, like we do it all. And we typically raise a couple $1,000s to give to a local Latina student. So this year, knowing that we still had goals to meet financially, we held that event virtually. So our state chair was really involved to make sure that we could maintain the sponsorship levels we needed. And so last year was actually our most successful year in terms of scholarship fundraising, which surprised us all. We really didn't know how we were going to turn out, but the sponsors were really generous. And we had, hotels donating one night stays, kinds of things that we could raffle off. We had Yeti involved that donated a big package, a little bit of everything, of product. And then we had NRP donate $500 toward our scholarship donation. So a lot of community partners really came together in that one. So that was an example locally. And then statewide, our state chair developed a new series during the pandemic. It's a virtual kind of panel series called, in Spanish, it's Pláticas Poderosas, and it means powerful conversations. And so 2 different chapters would partner together. So for example, ourselves with Dallas, we would pick a topic, for example, local advocacy, and then we would identify speakers within our own communities, bring them together. And what was really unique about that new series is that we were able to open it up to the state really as an audience. Whereas before, in person, we would just have our Austin chapter here and so on and so forth. But with the statewide virtual series, we had women, members and non-members, tuning in from across the state. So, during a time where we kind of all easily felt isolated and on our own, I think that was a really good partnership, a really good way to make us feel united and come together on Saturday mornings, drinking our coffee from our living rooms, and just having a talk.
That's so true. I've heard this theme in many ways, where normally if it would be a couple people getting together locally, when something became virtual, while we lost that, warm body feel, it really opened it up to so many more people to be able to attend. And I think that's just nothing that should be continued, right? Even if we can do things locally, I suppose. Anyway, wow. That's a great, you really covered like so many different ways you've partnering together. So I really want to dial in on a couple of things you've mentioned. It sounds like you have this annual scholarship fundraiser coming up soon in September. And then also on Facebook, someone said, can you tell us about the mixer tonight? So if you could give us some live updates on the events that are like coming down the pipe.
Yes. So our first in-person mixer was last month in July. We decided, let's pick a new hotspot in Austin with outdoor seating. We'll see what happens. We'll make it casual. There's no agenda. There's no speaker. It's just come and hang out. We raffled off a Southwest Airline gift card. And it was, I think, really the most well-attended in-person event we've had in many years, even pre-pandemic. We had almost 30 women out there. And we got the feedback that we got was that they just wanted a space to come and hang out and maybe enjoy a cocktail and just naturally network with each other, not so structured. There's no agenda, there's no forced speed networking element. It's just a hangout. So we took that in and we scheduled our next in-person event for this evening at and so we did a poll. I did a poll with our membership to find out, okay, which part of Austin do you want us to set up in next? And they said East Austin. So we chose the Luster Pearl East.
Nice.
And because they also have outdoor seating. And another big piece of feedback we received since then was to create a centralized point of communication, going back to the communication for our members. So we started a private Facebook group just for our members. And we now, all of our members have the opportunity to provide input on how we plan our events. So another member who is a board member of, I know I'm going to get the name wrong right now, but it's a local nonprofit who promotes literacy in low income communities. She is a board member for this organization. And so we added on an element, bring a children's book to donate, and in turn, you'll get a free raffle for our next giveaway event. So we added that kind of community service element simply because of what our members requested. So that's tonight at 6 p.m. It's going to be outdoors. Another question we polled our members was, as the COVID cases the numbers have been rising, we asked the members, what do you want? What would you like us to do? Would you like us to keep the event and maybe just request attendees to wear a mask? Should we cancel the event for now? And the majority opted for the mask option. So we're going to continue holding the event in person. But again, this is all directly from the voice of our members. So I think that's important. So that's tonight. Our Loteria event is normally in September. Now, as of 2 weeks ago, as a board, we had planned to hold that in person. It's usually, the attendance is usually 50 people. And we may be rethinking that a little bit, just kind of watching how, the situation progresses from week to week. But if not, we've seen last year that it was successful virtually. So that's definitely an option. We're just kind of, watching how things are changing right now.
That's how I think we're all kind of in that mode for sure. I've interviewed several literacy nonprofits. So there's Literacy First, Book Spring.
That's it. Book Spring. Yes.
Book Spring. Yeah, I was hoping I was going to hit it. Yes, that's huge. The community service element is such a natural fit with civic-minded groups. I love it. It's just amazing. Well, I also understand. I love this thought process you're telling me is how it is all member driven. Like the members are so involved. They are helping further the cause. I think that's amazing. And thank you for pointing that out for sure. So yeah, is there anything I haven't asked you yet that you would love to share before we close our interview?
So I think we're most active on our Facebook page. So we have all of our event information and contact info on our Austin chapter Facebook page. Okay. We also have an Instagram, and recently we started a new Snapchat. So
and LinkedIn, because I know I found some people on LinkedIn as well. Excellent.
So people can find us in a few different ways, and our main web page that hosts statewide all the chapters is the www.hwnt.org. And that site it touches on a little bit of our programming, such as that virtual Pláticas Poderosas that I mentioned. It has a lot of good photos to get a good sense of what these events do. And then we also have the membership application on there. And so individuals can go find the membership tab and then just select their chapter that they want to be members of. And it'll be directly routed to our chapter. I did want to give a shout out to our current board members. And, it's been difficult during the pandemic for volunteers just to sustain their volunteer places.
Yes.
And we're trying to give them grace and time and flexibility, and just, again, keeping the communication open with them. If things pop up in their personal lives, just giving them time to work through whatever they need. But they've all held on, they've all stuck around. And so I just really want to give them all a shout out including our incoming chair. So as of January 2022, our new chair will be Angel Rodriguez. I'll be passing the baton over to her. She's amazing in developing a brand new education program for our chapter. It's called Nina's in Progress. She's recruiting both students to apply, and it includes scholarships. And she's also recruiting members of her planning committee. So we earmarked close to $6,000 in our last board retreat specifically for this educational program. So we're definitely laying the foundation, and thanks to Angel, it's been really successful so far.
That is fantastic for sure. Strong leadership sounds like is kind of a given with your organization. That is great. I really love that. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Karen has been putting lots of links in the comments here. If there's anything that we covered that you don't see in there, definitely go in and comment in there. And everyone, as usual, I always I'm so glad to be able to connect with Jessica today and hear just about some badassery going on out there. Let me just say. For sure, for sure. And everybody watching this video and any of the other videos on the nonprofit shout out, like and share all the places you can for all the nonprofits I interview. And, you know, when you share it to your own personal page, that shows a bit about how much you care about, you know, lifting up people that need a special lift up. I did want to ask one quick question before I finish. Now, Hispanic women, is it required that you speak Spanish to join you all?
No. A good question. When I worked for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we got the same question about our membership, and our CEO would always say, Hispanic is a state of mind. As long as you support Hispanics in their business, life, what have you, even doesn't even have to be a woman. It could be anyone under the sun that just may want to support any Hispanic initiatives. Definitely welcome that. I did want to give one last shout out to another nonprofit who assembled themselves during the pandemic, specifically to provide emergency crisis response to families during the COVID, and they support much of Southeast Austin, which is, you know, the more marginalized area of town. They're called Do Good ATX, and they do just that. Like, they do everything that people need. They deliver food, water, diapers, and the lead is Desiree Bermea, and she attended our last mixer, so she is out there doing all the good for ATX. And I hope that we, you know, kind of one of the benefits, if there are any, of the pandemic is that these powerful individuals in the neighborhood, in the community, feel inspired to fill these gaps and create their own nonprofits.
Yep. Well said. I couldn't agree more. Thank you. We will definitely look into reaching out to them and getting a chat with Do Good ATX. I love that reference. Thank you so much. So I want to thank everyone for your time, whether you listened in the car or you did actually watch. It's just so important for us to be banding together because this stuff ain't over yet, kids. So thanks so much for joining me today, Jessica, and everyone. Like and share, because really communication and supporting each other is just the only way we're going to survive. So that was a little dark. Sorry. Thank you so much for your time. And I will cut us off for today. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Bye-bye.